All right, this is Mrs. Olkey. We're going to talk about the short story Muffin by Susan Cooper. Now, this is your historical fiction assessment. That means, yes, this is a test, and you will need to be prepared to answer a lot of questions about this particular story. And for that, we need to make sure that we read the story and we make sure that we are annotating this copy of the story. This belongs to you. You will turn it in to us, though, so you don't lose it, okay? But make sure you start by putting your name at the tippy top here. My name is Mrs. Olkey. There we are. And you must read the instructions, okay? This story is based during World War II, where a young girl deals with a bully. As you read, here's the directions. You're going to annotate for the elements of historical fiction that we studied in the unit. So that means you studied setting, point of view, perspective, conflict, power, and theme. This means that you will mark up this story using all of those symbols, highlights, and notes. You definitely want to write in the margins as you go here and here. And you will want to make yourself a key, okay? So for me, everybody is going to do this a little bit differently, but a few things that you can definitely do is consider maybe, I know one of the things I'm going to see are vocabulary terms that I do not know. So this is vocabulary terms. I'm going to need to look these up. I need to look up, and then maybe I'll make this guy a happy face. I need to look these up if I don't already know them, okay? And then I like to change my colors, so you're going to watch me kind of go through this whole rainbow. Essentially, I might have another one where I am looking for, maybe this would be like character motivation. Like, why is the character doing this? That could be a good piece of evidence for that. And I might even look at possibly, for me, I might have signposts where if I find a signpost, there's 6 of them in fiction. I might be looking for those signposts as I read, and that will help me kind of mark those up. And then another thing, of course, I'm going to be looking for setting. So this is going to be details about the setting. I made that a little backwards. That's fine. Okay. I also want to make sure that I'm paying attention to something that ties to character motivation, which is the conflict. Okay. So I might have some conflict in there. And then, of course, ultimately, every story you have to have a theme. And then the one thing that we definitely studied during this unit is also power. Okay, so here we go. One more color for power. Let's make it orange. And then if I'm going to find some evidence of power now, I've gone ahead and I've kind of color coded that for myself. Okay, so I'm ready to get started. I'm going to read the story. Now, you are going to use this on the test, which means that you will be able to use your notes. So take good notes. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and bear with me here as I figure out how to navigate this. There we go. I'm going to move it up so you can see as I go. Okay, let's get started here. When a war has been going on for more than a third of your life, you feel it's always been there. It seemed normal to the children of Chippenham Primary School that there were air raid shelters. Ooh, I wonder what that looks like. That's not a signpost, though. That would be definitely a vocabulary term, but I don't know what that means. So let's find that one. Air raid shelters on the school playground, long, windowless concrete buildings half sunk into the ground. Oh, it tells me right there. That would be called a context clue, right? That means that the answer is buried within the text. It's in a clue. It's buried within the text. Okay. Let's see. Long, windowless concrete buildings that had sunk into the ground, and that they should all sit inside singing songs or reciting multiplication tables whenever the bombers came rumbling their deadly way overhead. It seemed normal that every signpost in the country should have been removed. Normal that the streets were fringed with huge concrete barriers called tank traps to make life difficult for the invading enemy if the Germans should ever manage to cross the English Channel. when I did this with another class, they were not familiar with what the English channel was. So I would tell you definitely, let's look that up. Okay. I would say look that up. Basically, what you'll find when you look it up is that it is a body of water between England and Europe. So make sure that but you should really look that up. But once you see it, you can visualize what she's talking about here. Daisy and her friends took all of this for granted, like the fact that they'd never seen a fountain or a steak or a banana. They didn't realize that they were living through World War II. It was just the war. It was just part of life. Okay, so we got some setting happening in here. And I want you to kind of notice, let's see, where is it? The streets were fringed with huge concrete barriers. Well, that's some setting, right? And then they had these air raid shelters. So that's kind of also setting, right? Because we have long windowless concrete buildings half sunk into the ground. What do we get the picture here as we're kind of analyzing just this first paragraph? To me, this sounds kind of bleak. It sounds, I'm going to use this phrase, war-torn. Have you ever heard of that? When they say, oh, it's a war-torn country, that means it is tore up, okay? And it sounds to me like if this is happening in World War II, right, then we definitely are fighting the Germans, okay? So we have a little bit of power here. We know the Germans are in power. Okay. And because the Germans are in powers, we're dealing with, the peril of war, right? That's the peril of war for us. Okay. So let's keep on looking. We've got some good things here. Oh, there was something that kind of happened. I noticed too. Watch this. There's a signpost. Do you know what it is? Watch me go. Normal. Let's see. Oh, normal. Oh, normal. I think that's it. That's 3 in one paragraph. We've got 3 of these. What do we got? I hope you said it out loud. It's again and again. Okay. Now, our author did that on purpose. And it's a clue, right? My guess is that at some point in time, the author is going to start to contrast normal. And I want to share a personal anecdote with you. Are you ready for this? She says here in this very first paragraph, which is a lot, we're already deconstructing it here. She says something like the children had, they would sing songs reciting multiplication tables whenever the bombers came rumbling their deadly way overhead, and it seemed normal that every signpost should have been removed, normal that the streets were fringed. I was looking for that part where it talks about bananas. Did you remember that? Let's see. Where was it? Oh, I lost it. Oh, I don't know. Okay. Oh, here it is down here. Sorry. Daisy and her friends took all of this for granted, like the fact that they'd never seen a fountain, a steak, or a banana. Here's where I'm going to tell you a personal story. When you're in a war-torn country, the supply chain, which is what brings us all of our imported things, our things like steaks and bananas and things we get from other countries, that supply chain is broken. And when it's broken, you don't get those things. Okay. We realized this a little bit during COVID, and it really kind of affected our country when the supply chain was impacted by what we were able to bring into the country and not. So my guess is that these children don't even know what nice things like fountains are. That's a luxury, right? A steak would definitely be an expensive luxury because that's food that's not always readily available. And then bananas are imported from other countries. They don't grow them there. So we are seeing that supply chain broken. So these kids didn't recognize that they were living through World War II, okay? They didn't know it because they've never seen anything like it. So they've never seen, quote, normal, right? What we think of as normal. They've never seen it. All right, let's go ahead and go on. I'm going to go faster. Now that I've kind of given you an example of how much you can deconstruct in a paragraph, I'm going to leave it up to you to use your margins. I'm going to leave it up to you to mark your paragraphs. And I'm going to leave it up to you to make sure that you're following the key that you created for yourself on this, okay? So for the sake of time, I'm just going to read the rest of the story, but it's definitely now your job to make sure that you're marking things. And then listen for my voice, okay? Listen for my voice as we go, because I will give you some vocal stop and jot ideas, okay? But I'm not going to write them down at this point in time. I just want you to kind of be listening. All right, here we go. Fat Alice was part of life too, unfortunately. She was the boss of the school playground, a big, nasty, pasty faced girl with short, straight hair and an incongruously shrill voice. All right, I'm going to help you out here. If you don't know what that means, but you see this number here, that means that at the end of the story, there's going to be a definition. Should we look there? Yes, we should. Definition. Can't spell right now, Mrs. O. Okay, incongruously. Incongruously. I'm going to go to the back. Oh, look, here's all my vocabulary back here. Thank goodness. Incongruous means not in harmony. Okay, so it sounds like her voice was not in harmony and it was shrill, not in harmony. So it sounds like it's an ugly voice, right? Not in harmony and shrill. A group of hangers on drifted in her wake, notably Pat and Maggie, two wispy, wiry girls who hovered about her like pilot fish escorting a shark. Okay, I cannot resist this imagery. So this is like pilot fish escorting a shark. Now this is definitely what it uses like, so it's a simile. I can't resist. Sorry, guys. And then here's our shark. Oh boy. I don't know if I can draw a shark. Oh, I'm the worst shark drawer. Okay. Here's our shark. He's a bad dude. Actually, he's a nice shark, right? But then you have all these little fish around them, like pilot fish that hover and hang out for the scraps of whatever the shark demolishes, okay? So that imagery is really cool, actually. She did a good job of that, okay? Imagery. There you go. All right, so let's see. So Pat and Maggie, two wispy, wiry girls who hovered around her like pilot fish escorting a shark as prey for her little gang. Fat Alice chose a particular victim at the beginning of each term, and this term she had chosen Daisy. All right, we have power. Alice has power over Daisy right there. Okay. And poor Daisy, we're going to learn all about poor Daisy and what Daisy is going through. All right. Make sure you tune into the next video and I'll go through the rest of the story.